Hey there, and welcome to Under Influence Architecture and Design. We're your hosts. I'm Alex and Boris. Boris, say hi.
Hey guys.
Hey, so we run a company called ArchIT. We help architecture, design, and engineering firms with the technology, specifically making technology as their competitive advantage. Now, the concept of this series is Under Influence Architecture and Design. Specifically, we feel correlates with firms or businesses not using technology in the business. It's almost can be compared to designing while drunk. Now, I know what you might say, like, hey, sometimes, getting a few glass of wine is good to change and shift the perspective. And I would agree. But the key word there is what? Sometimes, not all the time, especially COVID-19. Big hit on all of our businesses. Big hit. What are you doing? Like, how are you shifting? How are you gaining an edge in this time? And a lot of people right now just surviving, but you're not one of those, right? You're listening to this cast. So welcome, and let's learn something together. First topic today, Boris, what are we going to tackle today? I think this is like we're starting with the most common kind of pitfalls and complaints and issues we're hearing from customers. Boris, can you give a high level on the first one?
Yeah. So one of the problems that we hear a lot about is our customers coming to us and telling us that as a smaller architecture firm or as an engineering firm, they have to deal with many various tools that are required to complete projects, and those tools are required either by the owners of the project or by the major architecture firms that they work with. And it becomes a real problem of managing all of that, not just from a perspective of, well, where do I go for which project, but also just having training for their employees being able to efficiently work inside of these tools.
So let's break it down. It's like a kibbutz of tools, right? So, because the firms must partner with other larger architecture firms and use their tech, or clients more often require their own technology. Can you give an example, like communication, like Zoom versus Microsoft Teams, or like, is there some of the examples you want to share out there?
The basic example would be something like, you have to do Zoom versus Teams or any other video conferencing platform, but that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. It gets a little deeper into, when we talk about project management. So some owners use tools like Procore, which are high-end tools, but some, different owners use Excel spreadsheets to manage all of the projects. So basically you have a gamut of something very basic like Excel and something very complex like Procore.
Yeah. So as a business owner myself, I can absolutely connect with that challenge of the myriad of tools and trying to figure out, get your different parts of the team do their work. And ultimately, like, the outcome that the people want is, like, I just want to get my work done as quickly as possible. That's like the overarching desire and motivation, but sometimes all these tools just kind of collide. And so let's do maybe if you want to throw out there an example of how this comes around, like what in your work with customers.
Well, again, we're always want to have technology as a competitive advantage for our clients. But this is an example of where too much technology can actually hamper productivity, right? So you have let's say an acoustical engineer who has 6 or 7 different projects, and each one of those projects requires them to log in to a different solution, either for collaborating and conferencing, or for just entering their tasks and responding to RFIs. So that's where it becomes a problem. Technology is actually hampering the productivity, or too much technology is hampering our productivity.
Is it because, so what is, in your experience, has been costly in terms of time and productivity loss? Is it the actual login process, or is it learning process? I know you can say all of those things, but what is the most common thing that you come up against with your clients that you have to support, and that it's a waste of their time?
I think it's more around information management. So yes, training is probably hard. It's hard to learn new tools, and the learning curve is there. but it's more about managing and understanding where to go for each one of the projects. Which tools do I need to use for this project, that project, and the other? And that is where a lot of time gets lost trying to find that information.
So you call that information management. That sounds pretty vast. Like, I mean, I know I can like decipher access management out of it, and we can sort of isolate that and poke at it a little bit more and provide some useful advice. But like, what else is comprised into information management?
It's keeping all your data easily accessible and in one place, right? And easily findable, searchable. Again, many times we see that people have, spreadsheets all over the place, and each one of the spreadsheets outlines a procedure for a certain thing, which makes it hard to find. So how do I know which spreadsheet I need to look at and where, in which folder is it actually buried, right? So using, I guess, the improvement would look something like using some sort of a centralized system that is not based on files, but where information is freely available for anybody who needs it and freely searchable, where you can easily find things that you're looking for. So let's say managing all the links for particular project inside some sort of database where it can be searched.
So what you're saying is putting together a system that catalogs the various projects into easily accessible links or otherwise accessible, I guess, pathways into finding that information, but having that catalog be ultimately searchable. Am I hitting it?
Yep.
That sounds pretty vast. Are there tools that help with that? I mean, I haven't found any in my experience, but talk to us.
Sure. But I mean, at the basic level, let's just talk about access management, right? So how do we access certain tools? Well, we need a username and a password, and we need to know where to go. So the very basic tool that we can use to improve our access process and also to give us some additional information management, going to the previous topic, is a password manager, right? So an electronic password vault, such as LastPass, you'll be able to store all of the passwords for all these various services. Also have the links there, and it kind of acts as your, bookmark, kind of acts as your, Google bookmarks, let's just say. So you can easily find what you're looking for.
I use LastPass personally. We haven't used it in the org, but I've used it personally, and it's quite impressive. As a free version, I imagine paid version is even better. But so you're talking about the catalog, and I like to assign names to things, like that catalog, a searchable catalog that helps us organize all of our work. LastPass can play a piece of it, or it could be actually used as the whole catalog?
Well, it'll be a good starting point, let's just say. Once we start using it, it'll be at least easy for us to find the tools that we need right inside of our browser.
Yeah, it's incredible. I agree. I want to connect I want to talk about bookmarks in a second. So can you put a pin on that? I'm going to write it down, bookmarks. But tell me about LastPass experience, like enterprise level or organizational level, not individual. Very familiar individually, but like, what would users expect? What kind of implementation cycles? Like, is it complicated? Is it easy? What do you hear from your clients?
Well, setting up LastPass is pretty easy. Once you have the licensing, you're able to then easily install it in your computer by either using a download link, or we can deploy it on your behalf to all of your computers if you're under.
Hey, if it's easy, why would people need you?
Well.
That's just a side point.
I know it's a rhetorical question, but here it is.
Rhetorical question indeed. But no, let's talk about it easy. Let's talk about self-implementation. Like, let's say they don't have an IT partner, or the IT partner is just not involved in the overall strategic side of the technology. They're more of a, which I'm used to, more of a execution arm. This machine is broken, go fix it kind of person. Okay. So yeah, let's talk through that that implementation cycle, maybe in high level.
So basically, you just need to download LastPass, install it, and start inputting your passwords into the password manager. Right? That's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Once your passwords are in LastPass, you then are able to create shared folders and share them with the rest of the team.
And so That part seems to me is a little bit more involved, and you need to understand the flows of the business and some of the complexities of the current systems in order to set that up efficiently. Because I think if you just do the first stage can be fairly easily self-implemented. The second stage will require somebody in the business, like an ops guy or a girl, right? Or an IT person.
You need somebody to manage it, right? So once you talk about sharing the content across different people or throughout the organization, you need to have LastPass comes with all this functionality, but it has a portal that you can centrally manage, but you need that person to manage it, to assign permissions, create separate folders for each one of the teams, and so on.
And what's the initial effort? So it sounds like initial effort is fairly involved. Well, I mean, kind of thinking through all the paths. But then is there an ongoing management piece to it? And if so, how heavy?
It's not very heavy, just like with many cloud tools. But there's definitely an aspect to it where you need to keep on top of it. For example, new people join the organization, so you need to bring them on in LastPass, create their accounts, and make sure that they have access to the right things. If somebody leaves the organization, you definitely want to disable access right away because you don't want them to leak your passwords all over the internet, which, is another story for another day, but we've seen that happen. So, there is definitely a piece to it. And then as new teams get created or different different teams for different projects, you want to be able to manage those shared folders for each one of those teams to make sure everybody has the right permissions and sees the passwords that they need.
Got it. So like onboarding, offboarding workflows and ongoing management of adding, removing systems and such. So those are kind of key pieces of ongoing management. But like, let's just go quantify this. And like, I'm not putting you against any kind of specific numbers at this stage. I mean, whoever's listening or watching, like just to understand the scope. On a 50-person organization, like your, I hate to say average, but your typical, still average, your typical architecture firm or design firm that you come across that does not have a system like that. And by the way, we're not affiliated with LastPass, like whatever, like we're not getting paid. These nothing to do with us. But what would be the time savings potentially? Like if you had to put a finger on it, what would that number look like as an outcome of properly implementing a system like LastPass?
I'd probably say switching costs is maybe 15 to 30 minutes a person a week. So if it's a 50-person firm, we can say.
I got my calculator out. What do you mean by switching costs? Do you mean like time to implement, or what does that mean?
No. I mean, like by switching costs, when you're switching between projects and you're looking for that, going back to information management, when you're looking for information on how to access your various tools, that's where you lose time. And the more projects you're working on at one time, the more costs you have, right, associated to that. So I'm going to say with LastPass, it's going to be much easier, and people can save at least 15 to 30 minutes a week, which across a 50-person firm is about 25 hours of labor every week, which adds up.
25 hours of labor every week on a 50-person firm?
Yep.
Okay, and I think that's pretty conservative. Like my experience, like I run a 30-person organization. Like that's, it's quite significant. 25 hours is huge. So 25 hours, what's the average cost? I mean, across the organization, what's the hourly weighted average? Say, I don't know, $50 an hour, $100, like what's the?
Well, if we're talking billable rates, right, it's anywhere from it's anywhere from $150 to $200 an hour for an architecture firm or an.
I mean, those are not really billable hours, right?
True. But
this is cost.
So we can average this down to, I'd say, again, a conservative estimate would be $50 an hour.
$50 an hour. So 25 times 50, that's a $1,200. Right? That's $1,250 savings in productivity cost, not billable. Like this is cost of the firm, $1,250 a week, which is $5,000 a month. A lot of times that's your IT bill right there.
Yeah, exactly. So,
boom. You just paid for yourself, Boris.
I hope so. I hope somebody.
Welcome, folks. Thanks for watching. Yeah, no. So that's significant, and I guess this will vary. I guess some firms that currently are unknowingly struggling with this. Because who's going to bubble this up? Like people just, it's a necessary evil. I just have to this is how we do it. This is how we do it. We go spreadsheets. We find this access to this particular thing. Oh, it's an older password. Send a quick message to the IC to reset it. Okay, I can't work on this project right now. So let's go to this one. This one gets delayed. Customer gets upset. You lose an account. That's a much bigger cost than just productivity. So.
Definitely. And we're talking about just productivity here, but there's other costs as well. So I mentioned when people leave and what happens and how we need to manage that. But also there's a different side to it. If people manage their own, so let's say an accounting person signs up for various accounting services using their, even though, they're using their corporate email address, but they set their own passwords, and those passwords are, on a piece of paper somewhere, or those passwords are, in a personal browser history somewhere, right? When that person leaves, nobody in the accounting department knows how to log into those services. And how do we find that information?
I've had that happen. Yeah. It's like, you have to call them like, John, sorry, but we're unprofessional. And I know you left the firm 2 weeks ago, but we can't access Jack. That's awkward phone call to make. I made it.
Not just awkward phone call. It takes you a couple of days just to figure out where you need to go to get that information, right? Because first you try all kinds of different things to reset the password, but it's all going to their personal email, so you can't get access to it.
Yeah, I think we've beat this one up pretty good. What, did you have another point?
No. I think, that pretty much covers it. But
if you're listening and if you're like, nah, it's not for me, I don't know what to tell you. That I think to me this is like an essential, very easy, very simple, actionable advice to go and implement and save your company a lot of money in one way or another, or hire us, get Arc IT to do it for you, or get your IT people to do some work for you and help you put together. Now, before we leave, other competitors, like what's some other companies like LastPass? Like I said, we're not affiliated with LastPass, but other companies similar to LastPass, I'm sure there are, right?
Yeah. So there's a 1Password, which does a very similar thing. There's also a company called Dashlane. So there are pretty much, I'd say, about 10 pretty good solutions out there that can do a very similar job. We are not affiliated with LastPass, but we use LastPass internally. As you mentioned, you use it, and we all use it as part of our company. So we know the solution and we like this. But yeah, there's definitely other solutions out there that will do a very good job for you. And we're happy to help you implement them.
Now, if a business, for architecture entrepreneur, business owner is going on to Google to search for a solution like that, what would they type in? Password management tool?
That would type in electronic password manager.
Electronic password management tool. So put that into Google and make your own decision. But our recommendation is LastPass because they're just good, right?
Exactly. And they work on all the platforms that you make.
Yep. All right. So I think this is good. If you guys have any questions, you want to follow up, you want to ask things from us to talk about, feel free to do so. We're at getarchit.com. Go there, you click contact or something, you'll get to us. Contact form or something like that, right?
Let's talk, baby.
Let's talk. Oh, you got a let's talk button. He's got a let's talk button. So let's talk. We'll probably change that by the time you watch this. I don't like it. We're talking. We're not talking. Like, let's talk. Well, I guess let's talk. No, let's listen. Like, we want to listen to your problems and help you with them. Anyway, that's a side note. So getarchit.com. Always happy to have you listen to us. Or if you want to work with us, also drop us a line. We're an IT firm that helps architecture, engineering, and design firms of all sizes, but mostly we focus on small to mid-size organizations. Anyway, have a great rest of the day. Boris, say goodbye to folks, and let's go do some work.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and you have a great, amazing rest of the day.